Hi, this is Nick Kazine, Chief Operating Officer for BDSec with your weekly market recap. Last week we saw the 3 employees from South Gobi Sands released from custody via presidential pardon. They were pardoned on Thursday and left the country on Friday, or released from custody on Thursday. And so that's a very important development as it relates to Mongolia's opinion and position around the world. Quite clearly, the country's reputation suffered greatly as a result of this situation, and the fact that it's now finally over will hopefully be the basis of improving the situation with respect to Mongolia's position in the international community and investors' opinion. And so the belief and hope is that this is the sign of a progressive move, that perhaps other high-profile issues can be solved. OT, TT, the 106 licenses still largely remain unresolved, and these are overhangs as it relates to Mongolia's perception in the minds of investors. Further, on the political front, President Enkbayar returned to Mongolia a couple weeks back. That was a very high-profile event, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding his return. If you recall, back in 2012, he was under house arrest here for some months, and then subsequently allowed to leave. And so he's since come back, and we don't know whether or not that's going to result in political instability. It's very clear that Enkbayar, former President Enkbayar, is more of a populist, and perhaps could even be described as a resource nationalist. And so it's unclear whether or not his return to the political scene will slow down the resolution of OT and TT. Recall that his party, the MPRP, is part of the ruling coalition, and so having him on the scene could have the result of making the politics a little more volatile at a time when they are set to become more volatile as we approach elections. Also on the political front, Ernest Tavantogoy, CEO, was arrested last week for corruption, and this is one of the mega projects that the country is trying to get online. And it's very clear that Ernest Tavantogoy has had problems for some time as it relates to operation, production, so on and so forth, and that the company had lost a considerable amount of money over the last couple of years. And so it's unclear whether or not his arrest will actually undermine the negotiations, or if his arrest was actually a signal that this deal is about to go through. And I guess we'll finally leave you with a comment on the Mongolian Stock Exchange. About half of the listed companies, about 100, have reported full-year results, and while some have clearly suffered during the economic decline of the last 2 years, quite a number have actually done quite well. So we've counted 15 MSC listed companies that have grown revenues at least 20% and earnings by 40%. Yet these increases in their solid financial performance have really not been reflected in their valuations. While the companies are not decreasing in value on an M&T basis, they are certainly decreasing on a USD basis, because the Mongolian two-grip continues to depreciate. Now it's around 1975. At the beginning of the year, it was kind of in the mid-high 1800s. And so what investors should consider is the historical correlation between currency debasement and equity prices. Typically, currency debasement coincides with an increase in equity prices, especially for those companies that are posting significant increases in sales and earnings over the last 2-3 years. And so several of these companies remain very cheap, and we think that the best companies on the MSE are going to at some point rally, perhaps very strongly, once they get to levels that attract significant buying interest. And so with that, we'll conclude this week's update. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with our next update.